minorities, particularly the Muslim minorities, if they are poor, they have prior claims on the resources of the country. I use the word all for all minorities, and I added for mayor, particularly Muslim minorities, if they are poor, they have a prior right on the resources of the country. I stand by that. While I am on this subject, Madam, I would like to point out that with regard to the treatment of refugees, after the partition of our countries, the minorities in countries like Bangladesh have faced persecution, and it is our moral obligation that if circumstances force people, these unfortunate people to seek refuge in our country, our approach to granting citizenships to these unfortunate persons should be most liberal. I sincerely hope that the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister will bear this in mind in charting out the future course of action with regard to the Citizenship Act.
Thank you.
Mr. Advani, the minorities in Pakistan are also suffering. They have to be taken care of too.
I fully endorse what
Nobody
the
is
opposition
speaking
has
on it.
Mr. Chairman, sir, I rise to highlight some of the problems that have arisen after the decision to demonetize 500 rupees and 1000 rupee currency note. Prime Minister has been arguing that this is the way to curb black money, to prevent growth of forfeited currency note, and also to help in control of terrorist finance activities. I do not disagree with these objectives, but what I do want to point out is that in the process of demonetization, monumental mismanagement has been undertaken about which today there is no two opinions in the country as a whole. Even those who say that this measure will do harm or will cause distress in the short run, but be in the interest of the country in the long run. Well, I am reminded of what John Keynes said once, in the long run, all of us are dead. And therefore, it is important to take note of the grievances of the people, the ordinary people who have suffered as a result of this imposition on the country overnight by the Prime Minister. And I say so with all responsibility that the outcome, we do not know what will be the final outcome. Prime Minister has said that we should wait for 50 days. Well, 50 days is a short period, but for those who are poor and deprived sections of the community, even 50 days torture can bring about disastrous effects. And that's why about 60 to 65 people have lost their lives. Maybe more. And what is more is, what has been done can weaken and erode our people's confidence in the currency system and in the banking system. One, I would like to know from the Prime Minister the names of any countries he may think of where people have deposited their money in the banks, but they are not allowed to withdraw their money. this alone, I think, enough to condemn what has been done in the name of greater good to the people in the world. And, sir, I would further like to point out that, in my opinion, this scheme of monetization, the way it has been implemented, will hurt agricultural growth in our country, will hurt small industry, will hurt all those people who are in the informal sectors of the economy. And my own feeling is that the national income, that is the GDP of the country, can decline by about 2 percentage points as a result of what has been done. This is an underestimate, not an overestimate. Therefore, I feel that the Prime Minister must come with some constructive proposal how we can implement this scheme and at the same time prevent this distress that has been caused to the common people. It is no good that every day the banking system comes with modification of the rules, the conditions under which people can withdraw money. That reflects very poorly on the Prime Minister's office, on the Finance Minister's office, and on the Reserve Bank of India. I am very sorry that the Reserve Bank of India has been exposed to this sort of criticism, which I think is fully justified. I therefore not like to say much more than this. I urge upon the Prime Minister to find practical, pragmatic ways and means to relieve the distress of the people who happen to be a great majority of our people. After all, 90% of our people work in the informal sector. 55% of our workers in agriculture are feeling distress. The cooperative banking system, which serves large number of people in the rural areas, is non-functional, has been prevented from handling cash. So, in all these measures convince me that the way the scheme has been implemented, it's a monumental management failure, and in fact, it is a case of organized loot and legalized plunder of the economy. With these words, sir, I conclude it is not my intention to pick holes in what one side does or another side does, but I sincerely hope that the Prime Minister will, even at this late hour, will help us to find practical, pragmatic ways and means to provide relief to the suffering people of this country. Thank you.
Thank you.
मंत्री, मुझे तभी कष्ट होता है जब भी देश को नष्ट होता है, इतना ही, अदरवाइज कोई। डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह जी।
Mr. Chairman, sir, it has been an honor to have served as a member of this august House since 1991. I have had the privilege to serve here as the leader of the opposition from 1998 to 2004, and then subsequently as the leader of the House from 2004 to 2014. Sir, the Rajya Sabha is the Council of States. I have had the privilege to represent the state of Assam as its Rajya Sabha member for 5 terms, from 1991 to 2019. Now I have the honor of representing the state of Rajasthan. India has had 2 chambers from pre-independence days. Still, it was after intense debate that the Constituent Assembly especially the Union Constitution Committee, arrived at a consensus on the need for a bicameral system. Today, as we celebrate the 250th session of the Rajya Sabha, it is appropriate for us to reflect on whether we have lived up to the vision of the framers of our Constitution. So, the task before us was spelled out by our first chairman, Dr. Radhakrishnan, during the very first session of this August House. He emphasized that Parliament is not only a legislative but a deliberative body. So far as the deliberative functions are concerned, it will be open to us to make very valuable contribution. We should try to do everything in our power to justify to the public of this country that a second chamber is indeed essential to prevent hasty legislation. During the drafting of the Constitution, Shri Gopalaswamy Iyengar advanced 3 reasons why India needed a second chamber. He expected that the Rajya Sabha would A. hold dignified debates, B. delay legislation which might be the outcome of passions of the moment, and C. provide opportunities to seasoned people who might not be in the thick set of political fray, but who might be willing to participate in the debates with the amount of learning and importance we do not ordinarily associate with the House of the People, unquote. For the manner in which the role of the Rajya Sabha has evolved, we have much to thank Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. He asserted that neither house had any particular superiority over the other. He regarded the Rajya Sabha as an equal partner with Lok Sabha in the affairs of the state. But for his effort, the Rajya Sabha would have been reduced to a mere second or revising chamber and relegated to a secondary position in our parliamentary system. Pandit Nehru asserted, and I quote, "The successful working of our Constitution, as of any democratic structure, demands the closest cooperation between the two houses. They are, in fact, parts of the same structure, and any lack of that spirit of cooperation and accommodation would lead to difficulties and come in the way of proper functioning of our Constitution. It is therefore particularly to be regretted that any sense of conflict should arise between the two houses," unquote. Sir, as explained by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in the Constituent Assembly, the Rajya Sabha represents a crucial component of the constitutional system of checks and balances. We normally think of checks and balances as operating the different branches of government. However, the Rajya Sabha has a central role to provide checks and balances to a majority government in the Lok Sabha, along with its other key role is to represent the interests of the states in our federal union. When there is criticism of Rajya Sabha, it is fundamentally a misunderstanding of these historic roles bestowed upon this august chamber. It is our duty to ensure that no laws is passed in haste and in an atmosphere of heightened emotion. That said, are there ways in which we can improve our functioning so that we come closer to the idealistic vision of our nation's founder? When it comes to deliberation, sir, we start with an advantage. The Rajya Sabha gets more time to deliberate in comparison to the Lok Sabha, since we are only half the size, and therefore members get more time to share their insights and criticism. But we can help our members perform even better through some procedural improvement. The House must get access to bill much earlier than is the case now. Members should get additional resources such as adequate research staff to allow them to study issues in more depth, and nominated members and those with special expertise in particular topics should be allotted more time for their speeches. I suggest, sir, that every year the Rajya Sabha should find time to debate the state of central-state relations, as this is a Council of States. And also, every year there should be a debate at this Council on the state of nation's health and the state of nation's education. One recent innovation that has led to smoother functioning was introduced by our previous chairman, Shri Hamid Ansari. He saw that the House was losing valuable time when members wanted to adjourn question hour to raise issues of urgent national importance. He therefore switched the timing of 0 hour and question hour. The question hour was moved to 12 noon, while 0 hour was slotted at 11 a.m. Now members' desire to raise urgent issues is often accommodated as part of 0 hour, and question hour functions much more smoothly. Thus, MPs are now able to hold the government accountable in a fuller manner right now. But for our chamber to fully fulfill its deliberative function, it is important that we scrutinize bills more thoroughly in committees, where not only the members can apply their minds, but even experts and stakeholder opinion can also be solicited. In the 16th Lok Sabha, only 25% of the bills introduced were referred to committees, much lower than the 71% and 60% in the 15th and 14th Lok Sabha, respectively. I would assert that regardless of what the other house does, it is crucial for our house of what the other house does. It is crucial for regardless of what the other house does, it is crucial for our house to form select committees to ensure that bills receive the detailed scrutiny that they do deserve. From what I have seen, Rajya Sabha select committees have done a commendable job of improving legislation, and I would urge that we ensure that we follow this practice for all bills that come before this August House. Sir, a crucial differentiating factor between the two houses is that Article 110 of the Constitution allows this Lok Sabha precedence in matters of the money bill. In the recent past, we have seen instances of misuse of the money bill provision by the executive, leading to bypassing the Rajya Sabha on crucial legislation of national importance without any deliberation. Those in Treasury benches must ensure that such instances are avoided. It dilutes the stature and importance of our institution, including the Rajya Sabha. The Rajya Sabha is a permanent house. We have been designed in a manner to ensure continuity, as only 1/3 of our members retire every 2 years. We are thus able to build on our collective wisdom without having
to start afresh after every general election. This gives us a mandate to strengthen ourselves continuously to enhance the quality of our input on legislation and on resolving the challenges facing our country. I would further submit, sir, that on some matters this House should be given greater respect by the executive than is the case now. For example, important issues like redrawing the boundaries of a state or, for that matter, abolishing certain states, converting them into union territories is such a far-reaching proposal, far-reaching legislation. This House, as being Council of State, should be given more power to deal with issues like that. But the government should consult with the Council of State much more effectively before such drastic measures can be considered by the House as a whole. With these words, I once again, sir, thank you for arranging this session of 250th session. We assure you of our full cooperation in making this House a more effective instrument of implementing the national will. Thank you, sir.
मैं विशेष रूप से माननीय डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह जी का स्मरण करना चाहूंगा। 6 बार इस सदन में वो अपने मूल्यवान विचारों से और नेता के रूप में भी और प्रतिपक्ष में भी नेता के रूप में उनका बहुत बड़ा योगदान रहा है। वैचारिक मतभेद, कभी बहस में छिटाकशी, वो तो बहुत अल्पकालीन होता है, लेकिन इतने लंबे अरसे तक जिस प्रकार से उन्होंने इस सदन का मार्गदर्शन किया है, देश का मार्गदर्शन किया है, वो हमेशा हमेशा जब भी हमारे लोकतंत्र की चर्चा होगी तो कुछ माननीय सदस्यों की जो चर्चा होगी उसमें माननीय डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह की योगदान की चर्चा जरूर होगी। और मैं सभी सांसदों से, चाहे इस सदन में हो या उस सदन में हो, जो आज है वो शायद भविष्य में आने वाले हो, मैं उनसे जरूर कहूंगा कि ये जो माननीय सांसद होते हैं किसी भी दल के क्यों न हो, लेकिन जिस प्रकार से उन्होंने अपने जीवन को कंडक्ट किया होता है, जिस प्रकार की प्रतिभा के दर्शन उन्होंने अपने कार्यकाल में कराए होते हैं, उसका हमने एक गाइडिंग लाइट के रूप में सीखने के लिए प्रयास करना चाहिए। मुझे याद है उस सदन के अंदर लास्ट कुछ दिनों में एक वोटिंग का अवसर था, विषय तो मैं छूट गया मेरा, लेकिन पता था कि विजय ट्रेजरी बैंक की होने वाली है। अंतर भी बहुत था, लेकिन डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह जी व्हील चेयर में आए, वोट किया। एक सांसद अपने दायित्व के लिए कितना सजग है उसका वो उदाहरण है, वो प्रेरक उदाहरण था। इतना ही नहीं, मैं देख रहा था कभी कमेटी के चुनाव हुए, कमेटी मेंबर्स के, वो व्हील चेयर में वोट देने आए। सवाल ये नहीं है कि वो किसको ताकत देने के लिए आए थे, मैं मानता हूं वो लोकतंत्र को ताकत देने आए थे। और इसलिए आज विशेष रूप से मैं उनके दीर्घायु के लिए हम सब की तरफ से प्रार्थना करता हूं। वे निरंतर हमारा मार्गदर्शन करते रहें, हमें प्रेरणा देते रहे